Hello everybody and welcome back for another video. I know I had said that I was going to follow up my last video with a series of Zon videos. I'm still going to do that, but I did have something pretty exciting happen in that I got the new Diablo Claw, a Dclone Claw. So I did make a build around it and I wanted to showcase that before I got into that Boson series. Anyways, guys, welcome back again. If you do like my channel, please subscribe. I'm going to continue doing content. And certainly with with Diablo 2 Resurrected kind of coming more to the forefront, I will be doing some content on that as well. So keep an eye out for that. But today we're on Project Diablo 2. We are playing the Whirlwind Assassin. When the Dclone Claw had come out, I had kind of called out the Whirlwind Assassin as the best option, if not kind of the only option for using this claw. So we're going to get into why and how it performs and all that kind of stuff a little later. As always, guys, I'm going to follow kind of the same template that I always do. I'm going to get into stats, then skills, then gear, mercenary, and a bit of gameplay after all of that. So let's go for stats. Now, this is an interesting one, guys, because I think that there's no real wrong answer here. And the reason for that is Assassins benefit a lot from Vitality, so you do get 3 hit points per point in Vitality, which is very strong. So under normal circumstances, you could just go enough Strength and Dex to wear your gear, and then the rest into Vitality. That said, both Strength and Dexterity add more damage to your build. So I think that there's kind of a balance between what you need to be survivable and how you can just add a bit of damage with some stat points. I'm actually going to run through my build as well as give a couple of alternatives. My good friend Lucky Luciano, guys, if you haven't checked out his Twitch or his YouTube, absolutely recommend that you do that. He is the Dclone killer. He found the claw himself, and he's making the same Whirlwind Assassin that I am. He's doing a bit of a different build. I'll kind of call out what he's doing differently than I, where you can gear differently, but all told, you know, the build and the play style obviously is very similar. So I've gone a bit over-indexed on strength and dexterity. It's actually, I did this by happenstance. It's kind of me just being lazy because I haven't respect, but I have found that adding a bit of strength and dexterity has added a decent amount of damage. So yeah, all told, not unhappy with how my stats are right now. Another important thing to call out, this build does use weapon block as one of the core skills. Dexterity and other modifiers to block chance do not influence weapon block whatsoever. So if you do have like a corruption that adds plus block percent chance, and again, adding points to dexterity will not influence your weapon block at all. If you're using a shield, of course, that would be a different scenario. So that goes through all of the stat points that you want. And again, there's not really a wrong answer. Just find out that happy balance of where you need to be survivable, and then probably dump the rest of the points in dexterity once you've met your strength requirement. For the skills, now there's a couple of different options here. You definitely want to max Claw and Dagger Mastery. As you can see, a lot of damage, attack rating, and even crit percent chance. Where the build kind of differs is you can choose to use Burst of Speed, or you can choose to use Fade. I'm choosing to use Fade. It offers physical damage reduction, and it offers Resist, both of which I need. As you can see, when I'm unbuffed, I'm just barely over positive. Once I apply that Fade, I'm going to be at max res. And then I've maxed Venom, Weapon Block, of course, and under the Martial Arts tab, Cobra Strike. So Cobra Strike is the synergy to Venom. So that's one of the cool things about this build. You do get kind of a variety of damage types. You obviously have the poison damage from Venom. If you look at this, it's 1250. This is, again, I haven't used my CTA yet. Haven't used Battle Command. But this is 1200 damage over 0.4 seconds. It's not like traditional poison damage. I think I have a charm here, 100 damage over 5 seconds. Like, this is over a very short period of time, pretty much immediate damage. So you do get that little instance of damage. Then also on your Chaos Claw, you have a chance to cast Frozen Orb. You have a chance to cast Charge Bolt. And then from the Dclone weapon, you also have a chance to cast Amplify Damage on striking as well, which will help break physical immunities. And again, so you just have a very well-rounded, damage types and all that kind of stuff. So you will be able to clear all content in the game. So that's kind of the skill overview. And again, really the only thing that I would recommend changing, or not recommend, but that it would encourage you to try a different build, is going burst of speed. The thing that I don't like about the burst of speed build is when you whirlwind, and this is just in PD2 alone, is that you are at the max increased attack speed no matter what. You're at the 4 frames per attack, which is where you want to be, so you don't need any increased attack speed whatsoever, and therefore the passive bonus to attack speed is not necessary on this. So really all you get out of burst of speed is faster run walk. Obviously, in my prior videos, I have talked about how faster run walk equals clear speed, but in this scenario, I just need the fade to survive, which obviously survival, I would say, is obviously takes precedence over clear speed. If you're just going to die, that is going to make your clear speed much, much slower. So that's how I've chosen to do the skills. I don't think I've really overlooked anything. I'll showcase the build with a bit of gameplay later, but I think that this is a pretty solid skill build. For the gear, now this is where it gets interesting. Again, I have found, one of my friends found this Dclone Claw, sold it to me for a very favorable price, so shout out to you, you know who you are. Let's run through this claw again, which I have done in a prior video, guys. By the way, if you want to check out my prior video on all 5 of the new Dclone items, please feel free to check that out. But again, we have 30% chance to cast level 25 amp damage. Now, amp damage doubles your damage. And all that happens when the amp damage is higher level is the radius increases. So level 20 is actually quite nice. And you will see when I get into a bit of gameplay that you're applying amp damage to a lot of units very frequently. And you will see, obviously, the difference between when something has amp on it versus when it doesn't. There's a massive damage. You really rip through things that have amp damage. The 4 Shadow Discipline skills, they don't matter a ton. Obviously, they do help. It's more points in Venom, Claw Block, Mastery, all that kind of stuff. So it's not to say that these are wasted, but it's not like what makes this claw. Very high enhanced damage. Of course, this claw is indestructible, by nature, and therefore cannot be ethereal, which we definitely wish it could. It has 30 min damage. Now, in this claw, I have a 39 ED 15 max jewel, which is just about the best jewel. Obviously, a 40-15 would be the best. Now, I self-slam this, which, whatever, MF, I was pretty sad about it, but the real thing that really made me sad was getting 1 open socket. So, guys, just to clarify, you want your weapon to have as much damage as possible, because all of your off-weapon enhanced damage applies against the total damage of your weapon. So therefore, the stronger your weapon, the more that enhanced damage off weapon has an effect on your overall damage. So getting 2 open sockets here would have been extremely nice, or obviously corrupting 3 sockets would have been the dream. This also adds quite a bit of attack rating, the penalty of the -20 of vitality. So all told, this is a great claw, but the real selling point of this claw is the 30% chance to cast level 20 amp damage. For helmet, now this is one of the gear pieces that I think that there's 2 very good options, 2 S tier options. This 3 open socket Vamp Gaze is one of them. I love it because of the PDR and the leech. Obviously, dual leech is very nice. The other option would be a 3 open socket Crown of Ages, which of course has curse duration reduction, resist, and PDR. So if you were to use that other build, the Burst of Speed build, you would definitely want to use a Crown of Ages instead of Vamp Gaze. Because I use Fade and I don't need the resist, that's why I use the Vamp Gaze. Guys, just so you don't make this mistake, when you try to get a 3 open socket Vamp Gaze, you need to put it in a Bone Visage. You have to upgrade from a Grim Helm and then slam. A Grim Helm can only get 2 open sockets, so don't make the mistake of constantly slamming Grim Helm Vamp Gazes, trying to get 3 open socket. You need to up it first. For Amulet, we've chosen High Lords here. the 20%, 21% deadly strike, and I'm a relatively low level at level 86. 21% chance of deadly strike is very nice. Now, guys, I've talked about in my Zon videos before how you do not want to use High Lords, you want to use Cat's Eye. This is a different scenario, and again, this is a mechanic that I really want to explain to everybody. Is that when you have passive crit, which I do because I have Claw Mastery, this will roll first. And then all of your deadly strike from gear will roll in the event that this crit does not proc. So there's a 22% chance of critting, and then in the 78% chance, in the event of a 78% chance where it does not crit, then it will roll your deadly strike. So this 21% is not a true 21%. I'm just going to quickly do the math, guys. It actually ends up being 16%. So it's the reason that we don't like it on the Zon is because the passive crit is so high that the chance of even rolling your deadly strike from gear is so low that the 21% on that High Lords becomes about 6%. So that's the big difference here. Because the passive crit percent chance is so low on this build, that's why you can get away with using High Lords. As you can see, a bit of a spoiler, but I'm using Gore Riders as well, which also has Deadly Strike. Now, for armor, Tyrael's Might. Guys, if you're playing a physical damage character, use Tyrael's Might. It's so good. It got buffed this season. It has... every mod is good. 45 faster run walk, damage to demons, damage to undead, strength, resist, cannot be frozen, no requirements for wear. It's just so good. Obviously, 3 open sockets would be ideal here. What I have in this armor is ED strength jewels. You could go ED dex jewels, wouldn't matter either way. But obviously, the more sockets, the merrier on this. And then, yeah, go for those ED strength or ED dex jewels. Or just plain ED if you want to keep it to a budget. For the second weapon, you need to use this. This is Chaos Claw. Now, this is one of kind of the unspoken buffs to this build in PD2, is that they now have indestructible mod on the Chaos Claw, which was not the case back in LOD. Now, guys, when you have an ethereal weapon, it's 50% enhanced damage on the base damage of the claw, and then any subsequent ED is applied against that total. So it's kind of like, it's almost as if the rest of the ED is like off weapon in a way. I don't want to confuse anyone. All told, ethereal is kind of like multiplicative versus additive. It's not like just having another Ohm rune in your weapon. It is applied to the base, and then more of the future ED from the actual rune word gets applied on that total. So something that is a huge difference, and you can see on this claw, it's doing actually more max damage than my super sick Dclone Claw, super rare as well. So, obviously things to call out here. It has really nice enhanced damage. It does have these 2 procs on it, the Frozen Orb as well as the Charged Bolt. They're not game changers, but they do something. Huge magic damage, 25% chance of open wounds, 3 to Whirlwind, which is another change as well. And this one has 3 Dragonflight. Now, guys, this is another call out for this claw, is that you can make rune words in either a white base or a superior base. And therefore, like, this 3 to Dragonflight is not part of the rune word. It was part of the base claw. And you can get multiple of these plus skills. So if you can find an ethereal claw, you might be able to find 3 Venom, maybe 1, plus 1 to Dragonflight, which Dragonflight is nice to have because it's like a targeted teleport, and just getting it from your gear saves you, obviously, 4 skill points, which is nice. So that's actually why I've gone with the Dragonflight Claw. Obviously, if I could get something with Venom, that would be nice. Dragonflight and Weapon Block, for instance. If you could get that combination, obviously it's going to be super, super rare and super hard to find. But that would be an example of a really, really solid claw base. I think maybe when it's ethereal, I don't know if you can still get 3 skills. I probably doubt that you can. But all told, just look out for something, with Venom, Weapon Block, or Dragonflight. I think would be good ones to have. But Chaos, you absolutely need it. This is what gives your character a Whirlwind, and therefore, obviously, an absolute necessity for you to have, and make sure that it's in an ethereal base because it makes the damage that much better. For gloves, I've chosen Soul Drainers. They have dual leech. They have physical pierce. That's a change that they've made just recently. They also have drain life, and you'll see that I'm actually losing life in town. Senpai, if you're listening, I know you're not, but please turn off the drain life when you're in town. It's so annoying. I have no idea. Like the fact that I have to go heal before I get into a map is just very, very frustrating. Just a small quality of life change that I think is a no-brainer. The best possible corruption here would be 40 ED. I have 25, so I'm pretty happy with these. Obviously, you would also want, if you were to choose another stat from this, the 10 physical pierce, resist pierce would be the best one for you to get. Don't worry so much about the leech. You get leech from a lot of other places. Currently using a Balcathos Death Band with, this is perfect ED and perfect PDR. Now, guys, just to run through, when you play a melee character, you do, if you can cap out your physical damage reduction, and again, that cap is 50, you really want to. Just because you are that frontliner, it goes without saying that you want the max PDR and you want max resist. So I'm getting 15 from my Verdungos, 15 from my Vamp Gaze, 6 here, which puts me at 36. And then once I have my Fade, once I get the +1 skill from my Battle Command, this actually gives me 14%, which hits me to 50 exactly. So I'm at 50% PDR. So anyway, the Balcathos Death Band, it's just really nice. I haven't slammed it yet just because I don't have a backup. But obviously if I got like 6 all stats or something, that would be a pretty good one for me to get. I'm using Verdungos. Another option here would be String of Ears. You can do either. I don't think it really matters. This is a good Verdungos that my friend gave me. With the 15 PDR, had a very good base slam at 37 vitality. Got that, base roll, 37 vitality. Got that 6 all stat slam, which is, I think, the best one that you can get. So all told, this is a really strong belt. I'm using a crafted ring. This has dual leech, big stats, life, min damage. The crafted rings, guys, can be so strong. But I do want to just talk about a potential gear swap here, guys. If you can't afford the Tyrael's Might, it's not going to break your build. Go with something much cheaper, like a Fortitude. And then if you use Fortitude and you don't have Cannot Be Frozen, just replace this crafted ring with a Ravenfrost to give you that CBF. Like, guys, honestly, this is optimal, but if you were to use Fortitude and Ravenfrost, you'd be like 90% of the way to where I am here. So fear not if you can't get the Tyrael's Might. Definitely Fortitude and a Ravenfrost will suffice here. And I'm using Gore Riders. Now, again, this just has more Deadly Strike, which is the real sell here. 30% faster run walk, obviously, has the Crushing Blow, Open Wounds, which have been nerfed in PD2. They're not as strong as they once were, but all told, Gore Riders, still a great boot option here. Let's just talk about the other gear variation. So if you have a Crown of Ages, for instance, that has a 174 strength requirement, which is very high, which if you wanted to put Shadow Dancers on, which also they might actually be 174 as well, they maybe even a bit higher. If you want to use Shadow Dancers, you can. I've kept all of my gear a low strength requirement. I don't even have enough strength to wear Crown of Ages. I don't have enough strength to wear Shadow Dancers. So Shadow Dancers would be the alternative. Or if you have War Travs, those are not a bad option either. War Travs are always a good option for melee builds that are doing physical damage. So that wraps up the gear. On my swap, I have a 6/6 CTA and the lidless just to give it the +2 skills. I'll actually go down and buff myself so you guys can see what happens. Let's look at my damage before I go down. 4,100 on this claw, 4,600 on the other. And after I buff, I'm actually gonna leave town before I show my stats again because I do have an Act 2 Mercenary that we'll talk about later. But now I'm at 56 and 61. That's obviously coming from the Venom, as well as the bit of damage that you get from Battle Command, which gives me 53% ED as well. So that's what I like on swap. And then for inventory, I like, again, very similar to the Zon. There's a couple of options here. 3 max with AR and life, like I have here. You can go 3 max AR and strength, or 3 max AR and dex. Same for the max for the Grand Charms. 10 max AR life, 10 max AR dex, 10 max AR strength. Obviously, Torch and Annie, the best ones that you can afford. Obviously, the higher the vitality. Again, assassins benefit a lot from vitality, so don't skimp out on the vitality if you can avoid it. And then let's quickly talk about the Mercenary, and then once we've gone through the Mercenary's gear, we'll go down into Frigid Highlands again and show off my damage with all of the Mercenary's auras applied. So I'm currently using Pride. This is actually an idea that I'm tinkering with. I think that you have two options in the scenario. You can go an Act 2 Mercenary using Pride and the Templar's Might, or you can go with an Act 5 Mercenary. An Act 5 Mercenary gives you level 20 Might, which is a lot of damage. It's not as much as level 20 Concentration plus the level 8 Might that I get from Templars. But then you can really, like as you can see, the Pride rune word actually has no enhanced damage on it. So my Mercenary's damage really is not that high. If you were to go with an Act 5 Mercenary, you could use like F Gavel of Pain and make him do a ton of damage, as well as giving you some damage with the Might Aura that he provides. So there's a bit of a trade-off. Now the one thing that's a little bit tough about having Pride with no ED is that it's a little hard for him to survive, because obviously when you life leech, you're life leeching based on the damage that you do. Because his damage isn't very high, he's not life leeching very much. But all told, he's pretty survivable. He's no slouch. I use Crown of Ages, again, for the PDR and for the resist, and the minus curse duration is nice. I use Drax, mainly for the life leech, but also for the increased attack speed, as well as the plus strength. Plus strength I need to wear the Templars. Templars is the no-brainer armor for this. It gives you level 8 Might Aura, and obviously just a great overall armor for your Mercenary. String of Years. String of Years, guys, only use String of Years. Do not use Verdungos. As you can see, he actually does not have a vitality stat, and therefore he actually does not gain any life from vitality. Avoid making that mistake. Use String of Years, which also gives, in this case, 15% PDR, and he's wearing War Traps. So that's my Mercenary. Guys, the Mercenary you guys can swap out for whatever you want. Again, if you want to just keep it simple, and again, the Act 5 Mercenary is a better budget option because you don't need the Templar's Might. In fact, if you do have an Act 5 Mercenary, do not use Templar's Might. It does not have any effect. It doesn't add 8 to the total. It just prioritizes the higher one over that. And so let's just quickly buff again. By the way, guys, your buffs last just about 5 minutes. Fade lasts a little bit longer, but Battle Command, Battle Orders, and Venom all last exactly 5 minutes. So now that I'm down here, I'm doing 7,200, 7,700 on the high end for the other claw. So we've basically doubled our damage once we've buffed and once these auras have kicked in. In fact, okay, yeah. So, all told, we're doing a pretty good amount of damage. Now, guys, if you wanted to do, I think the elephant in the room here is not everybody is going to be able to afford the Dclone Claw, and there just aren't many out there. So can you still play this build? The answer is absolutely yes. Again, I've talked about the selling point of this claw being the amp damage. What you can do instead is use an Eth Bartux, which is very cheap. I actually, just before I did this video, this obviously has a terrible slam on it, but I just bought this for an Ist rune. You can actually get a 3 open socket Bartux, put Omom Zod in it or something like that, and it is going to do a ton of damage. And then so you still have that amp damage, use Atmos Scarab. It's only a 7% chance versus a 30% chance, which is a big difference, so it's not going to proc nearly as much. But the amp damage is still high level, and therefore the radius is still going to be strong. When I'm down on the map, I'll actually swap out. I actually haven't tried it out yet, but I know for a fact that it's going to work. So that just goes to say, guys, this build is still feasible without this Diablo clone item. So if you watch the gameplay and you think it looks cool, then you can use that as an alternative. So let's go back down here. Again, I don't know, my buff just seemingly didn't work last time. Also, guys, because I do have +4 to Shadow Disciplines on my claw, it's actually better for me to swap back to my claw before I apply Fade and Venom. Just be mindful of that. You can see that my Fade is level 28 here. It's level 27 here. So not a huge difference, but 1 level difference. And yeah, just make sure you do that. Now, I've actually started clearing this map a little bit, but all told, you know, let's get into this. So as you can see, the amp damage procs very frequently, and like I said, the radius is very, very nice. So you can noticeably see once these cows get amp damage on them, they're, you know, I'm ripping through them. My mercenaries actually died. So again, guys, that just speaks to kind of the problem with this Act 2 mercenary is that because his damage is so low, he actually, you know, I'm going to go get him back just because, you know, if I really want to showcase the gameplay here, I do want to show it, you know, with the buffs in full. So let's go get our boy back here. Okay, we've got our guy. Let's go this way, guys. I think he just died because there was like a physical immune or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but anyway, let's keep going here. So, like I said, you guys can see that once amp damage gets applied, you really start ripping through these cows. And, you know, is this the fastest build you can possibly play? Absolutely not. But it's actually pretty fun. And honestly, this is pretty relaxing gameplay, guys. Like, I've been playing a Zon in which, you know, I'm constantly spamming click. This one is nice. I'm holding shift. I'm holding left click. And therefore, and I'm just moving my mouse around in this triangle pattern, which is really nice and relaxing. I just got to say, like, it is a huge difference doing this over, you know, constantly spamming click like you are with the Boson. So just something to call out. But you guys can see that, like, in terms of survivability, guys, like this, my assassin, he's not going anywhere. You know, like he's, I don't even know if I'm dropping any life, to be honest. Like, you're life leeching a lot. You do have the 60% chance to block. One of the nice things to call out, actually, and I will call this out, and I did learn this today, is that this map actually has a pretty bad mod on it, which is minus minus chance to block. If you guys have played any of those frontliner characters, you know how rough that mod can be. But all told, because it's claw block, just how modifiers on gear don't increase your chance to claw block, the minus block mod on maps also does not affect your claw block. So I'm still blocking at 60%, which is a pretty nice little call out. And hopefully, you know, maybe that's a bug, but hopefully the mods don't catch it, and, you know, we can continue blocking at our high clip. I don't think my mercenary got my battle orders. Just gonna put it on him again. Yeah, so anyways, guys, like I said, like, am I the fastest clearer of maps ever made? Absolutely not. But like I said, it's survivable. It's a fun build to play for sure. I just got mana drain. Somebody here has mana drain, which is quite annoying. But, you know, you'll get through it eventually. But anyways, guys, like, it is quite a fun build to play. And the one thing that I am very excited about, and I'm going to keep my build a little bit close to my chest for now, but I'm going to turn this guy into a PvP monster, and I will definitely show you guys that in the future. I haven't really been too involved in the PvP scene as of yet, but I certainly will get involved eventually. But like I said, you know, guys, this guy can absolutely clear all content in the game. And actually, you know, I'm gonna take this moment to do a gear swap. So I'll take off the Dclone Claw. I'll swap in the Atmas. And again, guys, like, the High Lords, you know, you're not really missing much from it. You're missing, you don't need the increased attack speed. Like I said, you're at 4 frames by default. So the increased attack speed does nothing for you. As you can see with the Atmas, guys, you're not proccing amp damage nearly as much. There it is. But all told, am I still killing stuff with the Bartoks? Absolutely. So this build is viable, even if you don't have the Dclone Claw. Of course, I made this build specifically because I do have it. And I was really excited to put this build together. Another reason that I was able to put it together so quickly is that my Boson, like, all of the gear basically transferred right over. I took her entire inventory. I took her Annie, her materials, you know, so I took all this kind of stuff. One thing that I did not call out on the High Lords is that the best slam that you can get is the enhanced damage. 40 enhanced damage. Now, the pricing for those are prohibitively high. I can't afford one. I don't know. People are still charging like end of ladder prices from last ladder. I don't know who can afford this stuff. It seems like the Dclone killers obviously have a lot of wealth right now. But yeah, you can definitely see with the Atmas, you know, I'm not applying amp damage nearly as much. Now that said, my Bartux, guys, is completely empty right now. So if you did have a 3 open socket one, you know, socketed with, like, let's say Zod Ohm, you're actually going to be doing quite a bit more damage than I'm currently doing. So despite the fact that you don't have, you know, the proc chance as high with the Atmas versus the Dclone Claw, you are just going to be doing much, much more damage. If you do get your hands on even a 2 open socket Bartux, would be a good start. So I'm going to wrap up here, guys. Like I said, you know, this build's been a lot of fun to play. If you do get your hands on this Dclone Claw, it's just nice. Like it's fun to have one of these swaggy items. So if you are one of the fortunate few, definitely make yourself a Whirlwind Assassin. It clears all content. It is super survivable. It actually adds a lot to party games because, again, you do have that 30% chance to cast amp damage, which your party will love you as a result. Anyways, guys, if you have varying budget levels, if you have questions and you want to put together this build, reach out to me on Discord, Bora, hashtag 7700, or leave a comment below. I do eventually get back to everybody. So, you know, obviously bear with me if it's not immediate, but all told, I'm going to get back to you at some point. So, yeah, see you guys for the next video, which I will continue down that path of the Zon slot by slot gear comparison. So definitely stay tuned for that. Cheers, guys, and see you next time.